we have this guilty conscience because as entrepreneurs, we have a little bit of an ego. And so we're like, if I'm not doing, then I'm not successful. And I think we need to really work on moving through that. And that's on an emotional level and a mental level to be able to push past that, because it's even hard for me. I mean, some weekends I'm like, I should be doing this to advance XYZ. And I'm like, you got to chill.
Do you ever feel like you're doing everything you're supposed to do, but you're still just running on empty? In this episode, I chat with Sacha Awwa about burnout, boundaries, and what it actually takes to build something sustainable. She's worked with major brands, launched startups, and now helps people simplify their marketing without losing their mind. Welcome to Move Your Mind, where we uncover why you are holding yourself back from getting the life you want and what to do about it. With the help from high-achieving guests and experts in behavioural science, personal development, and the health and wellness space. Join us if you're ready to move out of your own way toward your ideal self. I'm your host, nickbracks, and I've been working in the health and wellness space for the last 15 years, helping people find direction and gain the courage to take control of their life. My mission is simple: to help you learn everything that I wish I knew so you can become your ideal self. Lacking guidance, I spent the majority of my youth feeling lost and disempowered, which led to depression, anxiety, low self-esteem, and substance abuse. Looking back, I didn't have the vocabulary to communicate what I was experiencing. And as a man, I didn't resonate with the emotional language used in traditional therapy. I didn't need to talk about my feelings. I needed tangible solutions to guide me toward building a life I was proud of. If you can relate, then this podcast is for you. In this episode, we discuss how to avoid burnout and build a life that works. If you're ready to take action and build a stronger mindset, then keep listening. Sacha, so nice to meet you. Thank you for making the time to come on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Nick. It's so great to be here.
Appreciate it. So I'm just going to jump in by asking, can you give, so our audience can learn a bit about you, just a background on yourself, the work you're doing, essentially how you came to be, where you are now?
Totally. So I have been in the marketing and advertising industry for about 22 years. I came from a design background, jumped onto the business side, I would say 4 years after, because if anyone who's listening is a designer or an artist who can design or be an artist on demand, it was very stressful working for advertising agencies to do that. So I was very excited to jump over to the business side because I have both analytical and creative, brain sets. So it was really functional from that standpoint to be able to understand the creative background, but work on the business side of marketing and advertising. So I moved over onto that side. The meat of my career was at the New York Times when I joined in prior to the paywall going up. So this is when media established, putting up the paywall. So all of their systems were now, pay as a subscriber. But then I quickly launched into developing out what we called their brand extensions. So we had McKinsey and Company that came and helped us build out our trajectory to get to our 10 million subscribers. So think 2016, right? So at this point, it's when do we build out, or how do we build out additional arms of revenue for the company? And how do we bring in subscribers that may not necessarily be interested in our hard news, but are also interested in other things like our recipes, wine, so on and so forth. So was on the team and launched the New York Times food app, the crossword app. He has a huge following, Will Schwartz, as well as a bunch of events, in-person events, and some other podcasts that they also took over and started to launch. So moving on from there, I really wanted to get into the tech space and jump into the tech startup world, and working internally for a few prior to launching my own consulting company and supporting tech companies and entrepreneurs in terms of ensuring that they survive and thrive in this crazy, crazy, crazy world, but also get a piece out of really connecting with their ideal customer profile through marketing.
Yeah, wow. So you've done a lot of different things and a lot of experience. And like you're saying, I guess it's a very cutthroat industry, or anything, as an entrepreneur can be pretty cutthroat. As we were talking about before we started recording, looking after your own state of mind through that process can be really difficult.
Yes, totally. For sure. I mean, sometimes it's like, as an entrepreneur myself, helping other entrepreneurs, I feel, if any of the listeners or yourself, Nick, remember those shows where they're like the obstacle courses and you're running through and like, the monkey bars and climbing up, and then all of a sudden this ball can come out and hit you, or the platform below you just drops open if you're not crossing over it and in a quick amount of time. I feel like my days are like that sometimes. But I think the thrill of really helping entrepreneurs and business owners uncomplicate things so that they ensure that they survive is so important to me, and is really my main mission as to why I'm doing what I'm doing.
And so it's helping them in the area of marketing. Is that the main area you're helping them with?
Yes. So my company was established on creating and setting up myself as a fractional chief marketing officer. So to be able to get strategic thought process and insights at a lower cost for some of these companies that are just starting out. So whether they were VC backed, whether they were infancy stage startup, but being able to not have to go out and hire somebody at a $250,000 plus salary, but to be able to get that insight to really guide them, set up their systems and process in place, and really help them build their foundation for go to market. Or if they're in business, how can they optimize to really supercharge their growth?
Yeah, that makes so much sense because it's such a difficult sort of landscape to navigate. And I mean, have you seen how much has the marketing landscape changed in the last sort of 5, 10, 15 years with everything that's happened with technology advancements and where the world's moved? Have you seen big changes?
Totally. And I think that as a non-marketer for some of these entrepreneurs and small business owners, understanding a completely different industry can be very noisy. So it's the whole concept of, you know, when clients come on, for example, like a CRM system, like a client relations management system or an email system provider, there is one that really takes the corner share of the market because they're spending the majority of the marketing dollars against their competitors. So when I ask them, why are you on this platform? They're like, oh, I don't know. I was just marketed to. And this is what tends to happen with a lot of small business owners, is that they get hit with marketing ads, whether they're on Facebook or on social media, or so many people are reaching out to them daily on LinkedIn, and they're entrusting because they're like, okay, well, this person said that they can 10x my business, which, as marketers, we should stop saying that, because you don't know somebody's business to be able to 10x, and are they even in a good place for you to be able to 10x them, right? So
Mm.
it's really a gamble, and it's a huge risk for them because a majority of them don't have the finances and the funds to spend. And if it goes belly up, then it's the concept of, to heck with marketing, it doesn't work for me, and they move away from it, and then it's folks like me who have to psychologically onboard them back to trust marketing, that it can actually work.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, I've had that experience myself where, I didn't really, well, still learning a lot about marketing, but haven't traditionally understood it. And with our wellness program, we were sort of, lost a lot of money on going down the wrong path and, thought we were making the right decision. But,
Yeah.
and it was the kind of thing you're saying where it was, sort of a lead funnel where it was, okay, if you just do these different things, you're going to get all these calls booked per week. And then we were spending, thousands of dollars on the advertising, nothing was coming in. And it's really hard to then have to stop that, reset, and try something else. You do have that feeling of, how can I risk it again? How I don't have enough
Yeah,
money to just throw everywhere. And what if it doesn't work? And then you
totally.
get it's very hard to see clearly about what to do.
Yeah. And it's not that, I mean, the landscape is ever evolving and changing, right? So, but it feels noisy. And with the onset of the explosion of AI, and I say the explosion because AI has always been a part of a lot of the tech platforms and tools that exist,
Mm.
from a smaller scale. I mean, 10 years ago, we were using platforms at the New York Times that, we would take an ad that was created by our design team, we'd put it into the system, it spat out like 20 different ads that we could test, just based on knowing the algorithm and having the data that they had, fed into the system as to like what makes somebody actually click. And those ads typically won because they have all the knowledge and the feedback of, like, human interaction with ads over the course of X amount of years, right? But there just came out an article that there's close to 16,000 tech tools, so marketing tech tools within the industry. Imagine as an entrepreneur having to decipher which tools you should be utilizing, who you should be contracting, or what channel you should be using for marketing. It's so overwhelming and nobody is supporting them.
Oh my God, it is so overwhelming. And that's what
Yeah.
I find I can't stand in general. You have, subscriptions to 50 different things, and you're like, what the hell? We just went to Go High Level and found that to be great because it's sort of able to get rid of 95% of the subscriptions we had, and it sort of, does a lot in one place. So,
Yes, it
um,
totally does. Go High Level is a great platform.
oh, good. Glad to hear.
Yeah, yeah. You're on a good track.
There you go. But it can
Yeah,
be a nightmare. It can really do your
yeah,
head in. And how big of a thing is, do you think, personal branding now? I mean, so many people are building personal brands. You can have, you be utilizing your own social media as a funnel to get people in the door. How powerful
yeah.
is that?
I think personal brands is becoming even bigger than it ever was, and I think
If you're feeling stuck, you're not alone. Most people don't realize how connected your mental health is to your body, from your gut to your sleep, movement, food, mindset. Getting active each day can shift how you feel, build confidence, and transform your quality of life. At Move Your Mind, we guide you through this process step by step. If this resonates and you want to learn more, simply go to my Instagram at nickbracks and click the link on the bio to fill out an application, and I'll send you over more information about the program. Thank you so much for supporting this podcast. If you find the show helpful, please share it with a friend and follow me on Instagram. It really helps.
communities are also something that a lot of enterprise entrepreneurs and startups aren't focusing on. So why is personal branding great? Because a lot of the times when entrepreneurs are set to launch their company, it's this whole hype of like, we've been working for X amount of years, we built the system in the back end, and all of a sudden I'm hitting play and we're going live. And it's this anticipation that the floodgates are going to open, right? And that's not necessarily true, because now this is where you have to find what I don't like to call product market fit, but you're trying to find consumer market fit. So you're trying to find the fit to your product and service to your ideal customer profile, right? And and sometimes it can feel like the balloon is just, growing and growing and growing, and when you launch it just gets deflated really quickly, because your expectation of, well, this is an amazing product, everyone should be basically banging down our door, but it's like nobody knows about you. So if you're building a personal brand in lead up to the launch of your product or service, and you're kind of creating awareness around why you're doing what you're doing, because everybody loves a good story and they want to connect with that story, it can be super helpful. And then in turn, utilizing communities as a marketing channel to really start to have conversations with people, in person or online. So, like Facebook, LinkedIn communities, Reddit communities, or let's say, for example, and I love to bring up this product, which is Liquid Death. They weren't ingenious, or well, actually, maybe they were, to put water in a beer can. But what they did was that they first came out into the heavy metal community and they went to all the concerts. So that's high impact, low cost, because they're reaching a ton of people en masse to generate awareness about their product. And then they spread out across other concerts and music festivals. So now people who don't want to be drinking and actually are wanting to drink water aren't holding a flimsy plastic bottle, but they're holding a really cool looking can that looks like they're drinking something else, right? So yes, personal brand is very important, and it doesn't matter what industry you're in. I think it really is, even if you're B2B, so business to business or business to consumer. And I was just at a conference last year with female surgeons, and they were hesitant, to really create a personal brand for themselves, just because of, the liabilities around discussing certain things within the medical industry. But it's super important to be able to make, in that sense, patients feel like they can trust you and want to come visit you, and always having the caveat of, I'm a doctor, but until I know X person's case, I can't really, unfold certain criterias, but data shows blah blah blah, so I
Hmm.
think it's important to just have presence, because also people want to know who's who behind the product or service that's being created.
If you're feeling stuck, we get it. Most people don't realize how connected your mind is to your body. Sleep, gut health, food, exercise, it all matters. At Move Your Mind, we help you lose weight, build confidence, and reset your mindset in just 100 days. There's no extremes and no experience needed. We guide you to build simple habits and routines that will last for a lifetime. If this resonates and you want to learn more, simply go to my Instagram at nickbracks and click the link on the bio to fill out an application, and I'll send you over more information about the program. Thank you so much for supporting the podcast. If you have any suggestions for new topics or guests, please send me a DM on Instagram at nickbracks. Yeah, and it's a free tool. It's only going to cost you your time to do it, so it makes so much sense.
I think it's complementary to getting reviews for your product or service, right? I mean, you remember how everybody talks about, review me, or can I ask you for a review, and so on and so forth. In the service industry, it's so important. But then it's almost like it's complementary to have a personal brand that becomes a build out, and adjacent to that as well.
Yeah, and reviews as in testimonials or reviews
Yes.
on Google or different places like that?
Both. Exactly.
Yep.
Both.
Yep.
And then you can have video testimonials on your websites from your clients, your patients, whoever it is, in whatever industry you're in.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So when it comes to, as we were talking about earlier, being, an entrepreneur, having all of these different, demands, the uncertainty, the potential for overwhelm, how have you personally navigated that? Because I know from my own journey, it's really takes a lot of concerted effort to keep yourself balanced through that, to not get burnt out, to, come back from the ups and downs. How have you sort of navigated that journey?
Yeah, so I was having a conversation with somebody, and I love the quote that they had given, or the statement that they had made during our conversation, where it was like, ask not for a better life, but for the tools that can help support you in your life, right? So I think everyone's journey for a good balance, because I don't want to say work-life balance, just a natural balance and a flow, and being in the state of flow is very unique and personal to them. And I think it's just like, as we say in marketing, it's all about testing and learning and finding out what works best for you. The beginning of my journey was, what's her name? She wrote the book The Universe Has Your Back, Gabrielle Bernstein, right? And she helped me with, we all have, as they call, the ego in our minds, where it's like, what are you doing? The imposter syndrome, like, you're not this good, or kind of putting you down. And it's just like, how do you navigate through everything that you're doing on a day-to-day basis? So she was my gateway. I read all her books. I did all her practicum in her books, where it was like, if, your ego is flaring up, write this down in your journal, so on and so forth. I know a lot of people talk about journaling first thing in the morning because your mind is completely open. It's something that I do, not necessarily first thing in the morning. I've also utilized, other things, like there's a platform by a woman who developed, and this is science backed, through called To Be Magnetic. So it's just unblocking, certain criteria to help you, move forward. And so they're neurological meditations, that can kind of help ease you through certain things. I also did, a meditation practice called Vedic meditation, for all those that are on the call that may be more familiar with TCM. That is similar. You get a mantra, you meditate twice a day. I think it helps just level out. You wake up in the morning, your stress factors go up. And then when you meditate, it kind of levels out your stress so that you can really take on more without having anxiety or the flare ups of, the ego, and being able to move through the day. So I think mentally, those are the type of tools that can really help. I think meditation, neurological guided meditation, anybody that you are attracted to within that space, because there's so many people that do these type of things. It's just, how does the message resonate with you? And then I also think, it's like a friend of mine, she goes running every day for 3 miles, and she's like, that's my meditation. Or I had another friend that used to do Ironmans, which I think is insane because it would take him 15 hours, but those were his meditations. So I think mind is definitely something that you need to work with. And then body, it's like making sure you're in a good place health wise, because everything, it's the age old saying of, you are what you eat. But it's so true because, I didn't know that I was what is it called? Gluten intolerant, which was affecting me. If I ate gluten, it was making me more lethargic. And I think for the female entrepreneurs out there and even the male entrepreneurs, testing your hormones, because it's finding out, where are you leveling, because that can affect energy, it can affect mood, and it can really hinder you from a productivity standpoint on a day-to-day basis. So mind body connection is really big. And it's really just finding out who and what resonate with you to really work through those systems in place.
Yeah, I think really well put, because it is the kind of thing where there's no one size fits all, and like you're saying, there's so many different things out there, and I think that in itself can become overwhelming for people. But just finding what works for you in a simple way, and I think the Vedic meditation's a great one. I did that for a while, and then I found it too difficult to do the two a day, so I sort of incorporated in my own way into my routine now. But I mean, some of it I feel like, and I'm interested in your view on this. I was talking about this yesterday with my girlfriend. Um, when it comes to this side of things, we can often put too much pressure on ourselves, and we might hear someone, a motivational speaker saying, if you want to be successful, you get up at 5 a.m., you go to the gym for 2 hours, you do this, you do that. And it sounds so overwhelming that, you might try it for one day and just quit the whole thing. So
Yeah.
for me, and the thing I try and teach through the programs we run, is having daily non-negotiables, but being flexible with how you can do that. And I know in my own routine, I'm often up till 11 at night working, and then I might watch a movie, and then I'll, if I don't have any meetings the next day, I might sleep in a little bit, but then I'll get up and go to the gym and do my routine, and I'll tick everything off for the day. But it doesn't have to be this methodical, systematic thing where it's done in exactly the same way every day. So yeah, I don't know, that for me anyway, I found it can overwhelm people if it's too rigid. What's your views on that?
So, I mean, God bless the United States, right? Because I think a lot of us are here because money moves and opportunities move fast, right? But I think we should all take a page out of the European playbook, right? Because I think, to your point, it's not about this methodical, like, do hard stuff and like you'll be successful, what, like cold plunge every day, wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning, hit the gym. And so, I mean, like, that's intense. And it's like, like you said, you did it, I did it for a period of time. And it's like, I remember when I surrendered at one point, I was exhausted and I didn't even realize how exhausted I was. And it's just like, you're like this hamster that is just running around this wheel. And it's like, okay, you're taking your vitamins, you're doing your workout, you're eating everything. And it's just like all of this stuff. And you're not even realizing, like, wait a minute, like I'm running after my own breath, right? And
Mm.
it's even like when I, told you after 10 years, I was like done in New York. That was one of the things. I think when I started to meditate, I just started to feel the city's energy. And I was like, yeah, this isn't for me. And it
Yeah.
became overwhelming in the sense of like, I just needed to quiet down my life and not feel like every time I step out of my home, I'm going to war, whether it's in the subway, whether it's with the elements, whether it's at the office. It was just constant stress factors. And I think the meditation teacher once said in a meeting that we had, he was like, oh, yeah, he's like, New Yorkers die on average like 7 to 10 years faster than anyone else. And I'm like, Q, I'm out, you know?
Wow.
So I think it's finding a balance. Like what's happening to me now is that I'm embracing the slow. And I think that if you are an entrepreneur, you decided to set up your own schedule. So why are you chasing a schedule that was embedded in you maybe when you worked for an enterprise company or you worked with someone else? You obviously stepped out of it for a reason. So if you stepped out of it, take a step back, manage your schedule, manage your meetings. And like you said, some days you're going to sleep at 1 a.m., some days you're going to sleep at 10 or 9 p.m., and you're going to be able to get up at 5 a.m. to hit the gym and have an early morning workout. But allow yourself the okay to have flexibility within your week. And I think what happens a lot is that we have this guilty conscious because as entrepreneurs we have a little bit of an ego, and so we're like, if I'm not doing, then I'm not successful. And I think we need to really work on moving through that, and that's on an emotional level and a mental level to be able to push past that, because it's even hard for me. I mean, some weekends I'm like, I should be doing this to advance XYZ, and I'm like, you got to chill, at least take one day off, so yeah, I agree with you, the ebb and flow, and just be gentle with yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And because it doesn't really make sense otherwise, you often go down this path to create your own schedule, have your own freedom, but then if you're putting so much sort of pressure on yourself, it's like, well, why am I, doing half of the stuff? And I think, like you said, that feeling that we need to do more, we need to tick things off constantly. I know for me, that's led to most of the worst outcomes in business for me, because I wouldn't just slow down and try and get the process right first or take in the learning. I just want to run. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs are like that. And we can, unless we have a great team behind us or we're already established enough, we can sort of shoot ourselves in the foot if you don't slow down and, take that time.
Yeah. And even when you do grow and you become big, you're going to need to ensure that you yourself are taking care of yourself, because if you can't show up for your team, your family, if you have, then you're failing, right? So it's
Yeah.
like, if you're not keeping yourself healthy and well, and fine tuning yourself like we do with cars, then it's what really are you doing? I mean, this whole chase is, I think it really is an American thing. And I think we need to really just take a step back and realize that we don't have to run after our own breath, and it is going to still be there in the morning, and you are going to be able to accomplish it. I'm not saying to like take a step back and launch your business in a span of like 10 years. No, I'm just saying be gentle. Have those days where you're fast paced, and then slow down and at least take one day off. Don't work 7 days a week, because burnout is going to hit faster than you know.
If you feel like you've lost control of your health physically or mentally, Move Your Mind is here to help you. We guide you through weight loss, lifestyle change, and resetting your mindset without any extremes or overwhelm. If this resonates and you want to learn more, simply go to my Instagram at nickbracks and click the link on the bio to fill out an application, and I'll send you over more information about the program. Thank you for supporting the podcast. If you find this show helpful, please share it with a friend and follow me on Instagram. It really helps. Exactly. Really good advice there. And burnout's, it's such a big issue. So love everything you're sharing here. If a lot of our listeners are at a point in their life where they're feeling stuck, so they're either, on a path where they've just hit a wall, maybe they're burnt out. Some of them are stuck in a job where they want to leave, but they are too scared to make the plunge or make a change. If there's anyone listening that's just feeling in that place where they're just stuck, they don't know what to do, what is one initial piece of advice you would give them for the first step they could take?
I think it's going back to the drawing board and figuring out where the stuck is coming from, because is it a stuck on a personal level? Is it a stuck on a business level? If it's business level, then you know what to do from an optimization standpoint, or maybe you don't. Consult with somebody within that can help you. Maybe it's a business optimization person that can really help you get through that stuck. If it's a personal level, find out what kind of tools can help you remove that stuck, whether it's meditation, whether it's yoga, whether it's going for a run, whether it's sitting in the park, whatever it is, try and uncover, but seek is my whole point here, right? Instead of just kind of sitting stagnant, because if you stay stagnant, you're going to stay there. So just look for solutions, look for options, whether it's business or personal, and try and find a place, because you will get to a point where it's going to uncover itself and you'll have that aha moment of how to work through it. But perseverance, I mean, don't give up. Even when the business is flowing, you're going to hit road bumps, you're going to hit stuck points from a personal and a business standpoint. And one of the things that like kept me going mentally was podcasts. I listened to a lot of people that were talking about, like, I'm an entrepreneur, I've just started this, and they were saying like, oh, some of your friends are going to get annoyed with you because you're not going to have as much time, and all that stuff happened to me. But funny enough, it was like, on my way to the gym at like 5 o'clock in the morning, I'd be crying listening to this podcast because it resonated, but then I felt great. I moved through that emotional standpoint from the morning, that I was able to concentrate on the goals I needed to meet for that day. So
Yeah, it's so important that we all, share stories and learn from each other, because what we find out is all of us are human. There's no secret formula. We all go through the same struggles. And it really is, to this day, I've been sharing my story for, I don't know, over 15 years, but hearing other people's stories is probably the biggest thing that helps me, because you'll be in your own head and you'll hear someone on a similar path, and it just gives you permission to say, hey, it's okay. Instead of beating yourself up all the time, I'm doing my best.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
can just get so in our head.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's a lot of the times people give up because they're stuck, right? And they think like maybe this isn't for me and I'm not cut out for it. But I go back to marketing from a community. Also, entrepreneurs and community is so important to keep us moving and shaking and thriving because, like you said, we're all humans. We're all experiencing the same thing. And honestly, like we shouldn't be doing this alone.
Yeah, exactly. We all need support. So, no, I love
Yeah.
everything you're talking about there. I finish every episode with 5 closing questions. So these can be sort of just whatever comes to mind for you.
Yeah.
The first one is, what's your best childhood memory that comes to mind?
My best childhood memory. um Honestly, my best child, I'm half Swedish, and I think this maybe played a role into how I operate today, but you know it's we come from the farm country in Sweden, and my grandfather's best friend was a farmer and had oodles of land from like cows and vegetables, and we used to help him during the summer when we would visit and picking out carrots, after pulling hay into his truck, or, just picking berries off of a tree was just so grounding for me. And I think that's why I resonate and need to be grounded, like to really come down from the stresses of work, was because I have these memories of just simplistic ways of being.
I love that. I love that. What do you think's currently the biggest burden on mental health in society?
Support, not knowing how to navigate.
Yeah. What would you say is your personal definition of happiness?
Freedom.
I love that. I agree.
Financial freedom.
Any form of freedom.
That's another podcast.
Exactly. 2 more here. What if you could give one piece of advice to your 18-year-old self? What would that be?
Research. Keep discovering, uncovering, educating, learning, curious, research and curiosity.
That's great. Well, final one. What are you most proud of?
Where I am today. I try to be. It's a work in progress.
Love it. Same for me.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, for all of our listeners, where can they go? We'll put this in the show notes as well, but where can they go if they want to find out more about you, the work you're doing, anything else? Where can I send them?
Yeah, so you can connect with me on LinkedIn. So it's just my first and last name, Sacha Awwa, SachaAwwa. My agency is SAMGHQ, so like headquarters.com. And if you are an entrepreneur, we're building a community to help support you navigate the landscape of marketing. And that community is called mymarketermentors.com.
Amazing. Well, anyone listening will have the show notes in the links, so make sure to check them out. And Sacha, thank you so much for coming and sharing all of that. I took a lot out. I'm sure our listeners will as well.
Thank you so much, Nick. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Sacha Awwa, for joining me today and offering your insights. And thank you for listening. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the episode and any suggestions for topics you'd like to hear about. Feel free to leave a comment or just send a DM. Your feedback's always appreciated. Please don't forget to click the subscribe button, leave a like or comment, share with your friends, and follow me on Instagram. It really makes a difference. Thank you so much.